This piece kicked my ass. There were highs.
By the way, I use my walk, I'm a woman's man.
And there were lows.
Hit myself in the face.
But in the end, it was totally worth it. This is the most beautiful place I've ever set my keys. Stick around till the end to see how I turned an old log and some metal into a piece of art. The piece started deep in the wilderness of New Hampshire. I had to journey miles into the uncharted wilderness just to find these logs. Just kidding. It was actually in my uncle's backyard. Look at the little baby there. So I found two pretty cool pieces of wood, and the reason that I chose these were because they were really curved, gnarly pieces that looked like they had been ripped off of the tree. I used a cut saw wood grinding wheel to smooth out the wood because it was super rough before. I mean, you would just touch this thing and get a splinter. The grinding wheel inevitably leaves some little divots, so I just took a file and I smoothed out all of the low spots. So I'm gonna bend all of this steel cold. It's a really fun process, and my goal here is to try and make the steel look like it's part of the natural material. If you've ever done any metalworking, you'll discover pretty quick that solid stock bends a lot easier than tube stock does. And how I curve the metal, put it into the vise, put a pipe over the end of it, and then I just pull and use leverage to bend it cold. The material that I'm using is 3/8 inch solid round stock. Making all the custom bends to match the contours of the wood is time consuming, but it's a pretty fun process. I use little nails just so I can hold everything in place. All right, so we have the steel bars wrapped all the way around this piece of wood, and the next step is to just tack the pieces of metal together so that it holds. All right, guys, so I got the whole thing tacked together. I'll turn off my fresh air mask here, and you'll notice that I welded on the outside of these bars. That way I don't scorch the wood too bad. Once it was all tacked together, I had to pull all those little nails out, which was a real pain in the butt, not gonna lie. It's always a little bit harder than I think it's gonna be.
Hit myself in the face.
Then it was time to fully weld out the cradle. I'm using GMAW MIG welding here, or solid wire with gas. All right, guys, so I got the whole thing welded out. Now I'm gonna take it over to the grinding table and smooth up all these joints. After about an hour of grinding, I was finally done, and it's really rewarding to finally hang it up on the chain fall. At this point, we moved into the design phase of things, where I had to figure out what kind of legs I wanted. My first design idea was to put legs straight down, real simple, and then have a trestle piece connecting the two sides. By the way, I pride myself on my choice of random ass music while I'm building things and doing crazy metalwork and stuff. Bonus points to whoever can name all the songs in this video in the comments. Uh-oh. All right, guys, well, while it looks really cool, there's too much weight toward this backside, so when I push it this way, it's really tippy. Very short-sighted on my part. If someone's gonna put this thing up against a wall anyway, I figure we might as well have this back leg kick out to stabilize it. So what I'm gonna do is cut off this leg and then have it kick out way back here. And I think I'll move this cross piece that we just bent onto the ground, just so it's a little less visually cluttered. Okay, it's all tacked up. Let's give it the final test. It's good. It's definitely not tipping. Honestly, there's a little bit of wobble in it, To fix the wobble issue, I decided to try out some crossbars for added stability. And what I really like about this design is the fact that it's symmetrical and it kind of grounds the piece overall. So what I did here is just cut some pieces roughly to length and lightly secured it.
This is just with blue tape and just taped. It doesn't rock at all. I mean, that thing is solid.
Now that I'm feeling good about that design, I decided to weld it out fully. By the way, if you're into welding and metalworking, I do have an online class called One Day Welder. It teaches you how to MIG, TIG, and stick weld right at home. If you've ever been interested in welding, even if you don't have a welder yet, you might want to check it out. I'll put the link in the description. With all the metalworking completed, it was time to finish up this piece of wood. I decided to use some polyurethane to really give it a good protective layer. And after the poly dried, I used some finishing wax to fill in all of the little crevices. With these really irregular live edge pieces of wood, it does take a little bit of fussing to get inside all the crevices and get around the bark to really make sure it's nice and clean. Like you can see here, I'm actually using a toothbrush to get some wax inside of there so I can actually reach everything. And after a few hours of finishing work, I decided to call it good and move on to finishing the metal. See, right here, I am experimenting a little bit and rusting the metal a touch to try and give it a brown hue.
This thing could be complete right now, but the thought was the red and orange tones were going to kind of match the wood and anchor the base and make it feel like one piece. But it just looks messy. So I think the plan going forward is I'm going to take just some high temp black paint that I have, and then I'm going to start brushing on and applying some light coats of this black color and take it down a few shades. Thought that was going to look cooler on camera. Yeah. So this paint actually seems pretty thin. So I don't think I'm going to use any lacquer thinner. I'm just going to brush it on, nice light coat, and if I have to, I'll wipe it off a little bit with the rag. We'll see. All right, people. It's a little bit thick. Looking sick. You can tell by the way I use my walk, I'm a woman's man. No time. I'm liking the painted look so far. All right, looks like we're pretty much done here. Just gonna make sure that there's no drips.
And after wiping off the excess black paint, this thing was pretty much ready to go. Here's the final result.
I do love how this piece came out. It's a console table that you can slide up against the wall, and it's really, really unique. I mean, it's a one-of-a-kind piece of wood. We got some unique metalwork wrapping all around it, and it's a little bit different from my usual steel and stone pieces or my rock tables. I've never actually done a black coat of paint over something, but you can see the rust and then a bit of the mill scale underneath poking through the black paint. So you can really see all of the knots and the wood grains and the curves of the piece of wood, how it grew and contorted, and then how it actually broke and sheared off either when it was cut down or during a storm.
If you like this video, subscribe to the channel and check out the links in the description if you want to learn more about my artwork or my online welding course, One Day Welder.